Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, how you all doing? It's nice to see you all here. And we're here for our usual wee show, eh?
Yep.
Myself and the States,
And Evie.
Erekose. Yeah. I should have put Sunshine Ouija. I just put Ouija. I don't know why I did that.
Hey,
Um,
I decided to put Erekose's full name today, so there you
yeah, giving him his formal title there.
go.
Oh dear. The
So there you go.
formality.
Right.
Um,
See, nobody knew that, but now they know.
See, now they know. Now they know. And as usual, all the in the video, the description has all our other channels because most of the people watching this know we've got other channels, and but this is our little baby, isn't it?
Yeah. Which I'll probably end up putting this series over on my other channel when we're done with it.
Yeah.
So.
Because this is a crossover for what we normally do.
We normally won't be talking about true crime stuff like this. So.
But this is just kind of, sparked something in us that we cannot control.
Well, we're generally going to talk about what we want to talk about here. So now,
exactly.
We're talking about this. So
yeah. So by the name of the title, most people will be able to guess what we're talking about. Say, Unsolved Mysteries, 13 minutes. That's not how long we're going to be on for, right enough.
Right.
That's the name of the episode that we're going to be covering today. And I have to say, we did terribly well with the last one. We had so many people watching it, which was really amazing. So it just shows you how much of a buzz there is around about these cases, which is fantastic because that's what we want to hear.
Right.
So
hey, look, I mean, Unsolved Mysteries was huge before the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah. I mean, now that there's an internet and people can more easily dig for all this stuff,
yeah,
it's going to be even more, intense. So
exactly. So you had fun watching.
How's it going, William? Sorry, go ahead.
What's he saying?
He just said hello, sire.
Oh, come He's been all formal as well. But it's nice to see everybody in the chat. Or don't want to get distracted and leave them out, and not say hello.
Right.
But definitely, I mean, this has been an interesting one, this 13 minutes, this episode, there's definitely twists and turns, and, it's a shame that it's kind of left unsolved.
It's just, it's tragic to begin with, obviously, because number one, she's just very well liked. You can tell just by all the way all of her friends talk about her. She was just like
Patrice.
The light, that everybody, everybody liked her, loved her, wanted to be around her, just, you know what I mean? It's like, and so that's great. And this guy, Rob, was fortunate enough to get her attention.
He's 20 years older than her.
Even being 20 years older than she was, and he got her, he was able to get her attention. This, and obviously she's clearly the type of person that had her pick of, what she wanted to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? She was clearly very bubbly, very well liked. So she decides he's the guy. Now, I'm not going to pick fault with her on that, but and especially because from Pistol, her son, from his own point of view, he even acknowledges that for the first year, dude tried. He actually gave a crap and tried to take Pistol to football practice and do those things like a stepfather would, and was actually trying to be present, and then he said, but after a year, then that flips. I think that's important, folks, because what I'm going to get to here ultimately is I think that's going to be where the relationship between Patrice and Rob begins to break, because I think Rob is a freaking narcissist, and I think Rob doesn't realize that Pistol really was the center of her universe, and Rob was, the guy she was spending her life with, but she cared about her son. And if she was watching him walk by Pistol's room, especially if Pistol's friends were there, make it all the more embarrassing and everything. And he's making snide remarks and comments to Pistol and stuff in front of his friends and things like that. I'm sure if she's seeing this, she's gonna be like, "You fucking bastard! That's my fucking son right there."
I think he would have been doing it when she wouldn't have seen it. That's like the way they would do it when they would do it deliberately.
The problem is that when you develop a pattern like that, you end up slipping and letting it show. And I'm sure, and I don't think Patrice was stupid.
No,
I think Patrice was very sharp.
Remember what Pistol, her son, had said whenever they would argue, if it was about Pistol, she would never back down. She would back down if they were arguing about other things, but if our Patrice and Rob were arguing, and it was something to do with the son, she wouldn't back down.
Which brings up another aspect of Rob's story, that they had this idyllic relationship and they didn't fight.
Yeah.
What's the point of arguing? It only blows blood. It's like, you're an idiot. He's an idiot. We all not argue, but we still argue. It's just we have to argue.
Like you said, it causes divisions. I think was the phrase they used was
Yeah. Anyways, so my point is, Patrice wasn't stupid. If nothing else, Pistol and maybe one or two of his friends that had witnessed it probably were, I don't know, going for ice cream one day with Patrice. We're in the car without Rob, and so Pistol said, "Hey, Johnny, remember that time when we were playing Nintendo 64 Mario Kart, and Rob came by the room, and and then his friend goes, 'Oh yeah,' and he said, 'You useless son of a bitch,' or whatever. I don't know, whatever may have been said. I'm making it up as I go along. I'm going to go ahead and call that out right now, but." I mean, but he walks by that room and says something like, "You useless son of a bitch, you're a waste of my, whatever." Or, can you imagine? Yeah. And then one of his friends is telling her that this happened. I think whether or not she acts on it immediately, I think she's going to take it seriously.
Yeah.
I think Patrice is going to.
He was an older generation, obviously, from Pistol. And him being 15 and the way that 15-year-old guys can be, he could have been a wee git as well. He could have been spoiled, used to having just his mum and him. And I felt for him in the documentary, but right away I was like, 15, they can be wee, he could have been being a wee, whatever. He could have been being a
dick. Oh, yes, absolutely. I will not deny that Pistol was probably being a bit of a dick himself. But let's remember who the adult here is.
Yes, I was going to say that, but who's the adult exactly? But then maybe he was trying to discipline him the way that his father the way that patterns, he maybe thought.
Getting back to Pistol being honest about the first year, this tells me that Pistol is somewhat emotionally well adjusted. No, and I am sure no thanks to Rob, but this tells me that Pistol his mom did her job along the way, because he's pretty well adjusted, that he's willing and able to admit that about Rob. Yeah. Even though he clearly doesn't like Rob. He has no reason to like Rob, but he acknowledges that in that first year, Rob was trying. And that's why this whole thing smacks to me of Rob got lucky. Rob, then after a year, it started to lose its shine, maybe you might say. And so then it was, okay, well, I don't really care about, I want to put any energy into this kid. This kid is just a waste of my time. And it's like it became that. Well, once he did that soured everything with Patrice. I believe they probably were headed for a divorce. I believe Pistol was probably telling the truth.
So that was new information to him, wasn't it?
Right?
New information. Yeah.
Look, my gut tells me Pistol is probably telling the truth. She probably was getting ready to divorce him. Yeah. It just because all the indicators.
It was her friends too, though. Her friends had said, he was so controlling. He was
exactly all the indicators.
Jealous, and they would be. He always just wanted her to be his.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, right. Because they just. They use that word hovering. He would hover, and dude, when they would say the word hover describing him, it just sounded like a dirty word, the way they were saying it.
He would hover.
The way they were talking about him hovering over her and everything. It was just like,
not letting her breathe. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, to me, that's, you're going to,
Yeah.
To a free spirit like her, who is bubbly and likes to interact with people and is well loved and everything. You want to try and smother that person? It's just not going to go well. Either they're eventually going to buck and they're going to think of you as Satan or the Antichrist, or you're going to kill their soul. You're going to beat them down until they're nothing of who they were, but at least they're under your thumb. So no matter what, this guy bothers me because he just doesn't seem like he's a good guy for people. And
then when Patrice goes missing,
for anybody but himself, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. And then when Patrice went missing, the next day, the first thing he thought of was to change the locks, and for the safety of Pistol, to have him just living somewhere else, it was safer for him to just be living somewhere else.
Yeah.
What with no money, and he didn't know that he had his
no way to support himself at 16. Yep. Right?
Well, he was 15.
It's like, no, that's a way for you to protect yourself. You're afraid he's going to figure out what the hell you did, Rob.
Yep.
That's what it looks like. It looks like you're getting rid of her son so that he won't figure out and connect the dots about how you did it.
Yep.
That's what it looks like.
Or he knows just how far he's prepared to go. Maybe he knows if something was involved, he knows just what kind of person he really is himself, and maybe thought, actually, I better just get this kid out of here.
Well, it could be that too, but no matter what, that suspicious activity is number one, he's a 16-year-old kid, so your reasoning is stupid.
Yeah.
And number two, literally, when she goes missing or whatever, what was it? When did he change the locks? That was when she went missing.
The second day after
she went missing, or the same day.
Second day. No, because that was like 600 days later.
That was like 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
The day after she went
missing, he changes the locks, right?
Yeah.
See, at that point, she's still a missing person, folks, and he's locking her son out of the house at 16 years old. Come on. Yeah. It's like he's hiding something. Maybe the excuse of he didn't want to have to deal with that teenage kid because it was too much, whatever. That's fine. But real world, you would have come to that decision 2 weeks or a month later. You would have been compassionate at the beginning, at least, and then you would have made arrangements over the next 2 weeks or month for him to go live with his dad. That's what a normal person would do.
Yeah, responsible person.
But somebody who's trying to hide something might do something similar to what you did, Rob, which is change all the locks on the house and make sure he couldn't get back in no way, no how.
But remember, he's got a degree in criminology, so he's obviously thinking right away, that somebody's going to try and break in and kill him, and or he knows she's not coming back. Yeah,
no. Or he knows she's not coming back, or whatever it might be. The point is, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to say maybe it's because of, he knows that people might be trying to retaliate against him, whatever. That's fine. But here's the thing. That's fine. But he victimizes a 16-year-old kid in his haste. And so that's why it takes that off the table for me.
Yeah.
Well, it begins to take that off the table for me. Because we're not talking about an 18-year-old kid here. We're talking about a 16-year-old kid. It just
well, he was only 15. He was just shy of his 16th birthday. He was just shy of his 16th birthday. So
that puts everything in a different light. It's like all those excuses might have worked, and I might have been able to buy them. But we got a 16-year-old kid here that you victimized.
Remember, though, this was a bit interesting. 2 weeks before, Patrice had said to Pistol, if it never happened to me, where would you go?
Yeah, right.
Did you notice she said that?
Ask.
Yeah.
Did Patrice understand
and she also said
that if she was preparing to divorce Rob, what might be coming down the pike? Is that?
And remember, she also said to her friend, was it a friend Pam or something like that? No, I can't remember what her friend was. Her second name was McDonald. I can't remember what her first name was. Women, I'll see you. Are you coming by tomorrow? The woman that came every single day on her way home from work.
Right.
She asked her if she was coming by tomorrow, which was a bit weird because if the person came in every day, why would you ask?
Right.
If they were coming in, you wouldn't have a need to. ask,
But she
are
just
you
wanted to
coming
make
in
sure she
tomorrow?
could count on it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's suspicious. And these things seemed out of character for Patrice. It shows us that she felt something was off.
Yeah. Which is horrible. That is. It's horrible.
Oh, I was just reading Andrew calls here. She has stepchildren and stuff, and I was just reading that. Sorry. Anyways.
Yeah. But then it was like the 6th or something of December. It was like 600 days later they found Patrice's remains.
Yes. Out in the middle of a forest.
Yeah. In the winter, which is a typical time for them to find bones when everything's all, the trees have lost all their lushness and things are going to be more exposed, leaves are blown about.
Leaves are blown away or decayed.
Yeah.
I don't recall brings up an interesting point about Rob changing all the locks. That is suspicious. Like Carol Baskin closing the office and doing similar things.
Yes.
Like she knew he wasn't coming back. That's a very, very interesting parallel. I don't recall.
Or Ryan Halligan sleeping in Teresa's bed.
There you go. That too.
Yeah. It's these things, isn't it? It's that sort of guilty knowledge that they know things. These people do that kind of give themselves away as being suspicious. How do you know she's not coming back?
Right. But yet there can be these things going on. But then they claim that Brendan Dassey is guilty because he had bleach on his jeans.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's far more incriminating than Ryan sleeping in her bed, or that's far more. Okay, now I see the light. No, sorry.
I mean, to be fair, the police did say that they have done a thorough, investigation of everyone, and there was no sign of any, wrongdoing. And other than the fact that
I have no doubt that Rob has some knowledge of criminology, whether it's legitimate, whether he has a degree or not, I don't know.
Yeah. But there's people have been saying
I bet he has enough knowledge to cover tracks. So
remember he had a receipt from the petrol station the very morning to cover him.
Which does he just a receipt but no video, right?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if there was a video, but he definitely said he had
no video. He could have easily had anybody with his credit card go and fill up at that gas station. So anyway,
exactly.
Like I say, there's ways around it, and if all he's got is that,
the same as I said. I mean, if it was a murder for hire, because I went through all the things in my mind when I watched it a couple of months back, and I was thinking, obviously, when they're looking for murder for hire, they look for large sums of money coming out, don't they? But if somebody's planning something, maybe for 2 years, you could take out a bit of money here, a bit of money there, not on a regular basis, just, having, just, I need this cash out for this, or I need that for that, so somebody could easily, if they had the money, and he had enough money to help her set up her salon. One interesting thing that I noticed was, even though she was married to Ron and she took his surname, she used her maiden name as the name for the salon.
Oh, right.
Not her married name.
She was still good friends with him. That was the other thing I thought was interesting. Her ex-husband.
No, her father. It was her father's name. She used her father's name.
Oh, her maiden name, right.
Yeah, her maiden name. Yep.
Yeah,
her family name.
Anyway, I did find it interesting that Pistol went to live with Dad, and when we got to meet with that, we got kind of meet that guy at the end. That he talked about the fact that her and I still talked all the time, and all that, and like they were still friends. Like, so that was an amicable breakup there. I don't know, but okay. So one other thing I wanted to bring up, because you got to talking about the salon here, is that another reason why I kind of keep coming back to Rob, because it doesn't look like a smash and grab.
No.
Okay. It doesn't look like somebody came in there like smashing up and whatever and grabbing things. No, looks like they got into the register easily, took the money out of it very cleanly. Everything's all, So these are odd things to me, that there's not a lot of that going on, which suggests to me that it was somebody that knew the place. somebody that knew the drill.
Cased the joint.
Right? Yeah. or cased it, but
yeah.
I don't know, was comfortable there. And that sort of thing. That's just my thought on it. And it's just another reason why Rob's, behavior just doesn't seem. I mean, under different circumstances, yes, maybe, but like I said, all that stuff he did when he's he's basically the guardian of a 16-year-old kid at that point. How the hell he escapes charges of abandonment and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't know.
Probably just thought he's got a dad. I don't really care. He's got his own dad,
I guess. And then everybody just figured, okay, yeah, all right, fine, he can go there. So everybody just said, screw it. Yeah. I still don't think it's right. I still think he should have got dragged into court. Whether they decided to slap him on the wrist, I believe he should have gotten dragged into court for it. Yeah. So, hold on a second.
It's like me on myself. I can look at the chat now. But it's definitely interesting. We've been enjoying watching these programs, and like we said before, normally it'll be not this kind of thing that we are covering, but it's definitely our thing. We do like the true crime stuff, but I hope you're all enjoying watching these. I mean, it was the last video got, was it 354 views or something like that? So it got like a load of views. So there's all these groups, there's Unsolved Mysteries groups and all that as well. So I was just talking to everybody. There's loads of groups and stuff like that. So you should check them out as well, anybody that's watching this. I think it's the Netflix official Unsolved Mysteries, and each episode's got its own group. So it's really quite good. There's loads of stuff people are looking into.
So I had to go. Dog just kept barking, so I had to go let the dog.
Oh, is that annoying you?
Not gonna stop. He's just gonna go and go and go. So anyway,
I was like, he's left. And it was funny because it's like I'm used to being on my own channel and being fine my own, but when you went away there, I was like, oh. I was like, I'll look at the chat and
Erekose disappears and then it creates a vacuum. And...
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. No, it was fine. It was fine. I was like, oh, it's fine. It was like a second. I just kind of went, okay.
So did you see? Have you heard Mr. Capaldi? He wants to create the Beastmaster quiz show.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
well, that would be good.
Yep. Anyways,
that would be good fun.
So, I mean, let's see. Is there anything else we need to cover here? I mean,
well, there was there was suspicious
the creepy attachment to the ashes in the skull, I guess.
Yeah. Well, would that be if we were talking about Rob, or should we talk about the witnesses saw a car at the salon?
Right. Right. The second suspect. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was Tammy. Her name was the woman. She saw the woman outside, and she saw a second person, and she said she thought they looked like they were having a bit of a. Well, she used the phrase, American phrase. They had hands on each other.
Right.
It's not a phrase that we use here.
Yeah.
But I know that it kind of means it can have different connotations.
Well, the way she was describing it is that it didn't look like normal interaction.
Yeah.
One person appeared to be down on like one knee or on their knee, trying to get up or something. Yeah. It just looked odd to her. She wishes she would have stopped now.
Yeah. And the fact the car was in a different place and the suspect.
And her car was in a different spot, which was another interesting.
And they suggested it was maybe
jumped. I don't understand why that would be, though. I mean,
well, they said, they were using the suggestion that it was like maybe she brought the car around to help jumpstart, but surely the other person could have just drove around to where she was. Well, I suppose if they'd stopped.
If they'd already,
that's. But then why would they just stop, just like, jump start. It wasn't as if they were a customer and then they'd been in there too long, left the aircon on and the radio and like their battery go dead, because all our customers were accounted for, and that was pretty funny. The woman was in the hair salon for like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the guy was in for 17 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
We laughed at that. We thought, oh, that's funny. Well,
Yeah,
I get laughed at for that in this house. It was like, oh, see, guys, in and out. So, and I'm like, yeah. So it's like, it's not as if it was a customer, because the last customer left and they would have came forward and said there was a car there. So that's why they say 13 minutes, because the way that the calls had worked, remember, it was the last call she received. Well, that was the thing. Do you remember our first customer said she seemed distracted and less attentive?
Yes.
Right. And then and then the person that called up, I can't remember if it was to cancel or to make an appointment, but the last person that called, they said she was a bit short with them on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But then if her lunch was out and she was waiting to eat it up, it could have been like, oh, I'm trying to get my lunch. I've got more appointments. It could have just have been, that she was short. It doesn't mean anything in and of itself.
Right.
But if she was normally known to be bubbly, friendly, couldn't do enough for her customers would hang around, just to be with her after they've got their haircuts and stuff.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of that, which is again why I say she was a very, sociable person.
Yeah.
And so this is another thing that I think would have rubbed Rob the wrong way, but anyways. But what's important about that day is obviously there is one other suspect who comes out in this who claims he liked to victimize shops and do little grabs of cash right around lunchtime in the same area where...
Particularly hair salons were an easy target.
Right.
Well, there was two guys. Remember, there was two guys. There was... one of them was very specific. No, there was two guys that they thought might have had something to do with it. One had been involved in a murder that was similar, woman disappeared, blah, blah, that kind of thing. His name was Gary Hilton, I think it was. But then the one that said Heckle and Jekyll, which if anybody's watched this, the one guy, instead of saying Jekyll and Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, he said when he's on the drugs, he's like Heckle and Jekyll, and that was just too funny.
That was funny.
He had said he does like salons and all that sort of thing, but I mean, any of these people that watched the news knew that somebody in a salon had went missing. They might have wanted to try and, you don't know what their motivations were. They were in getting interviewed about other murders that they were actually getting, arrested for. So, so that they subsequently got convicted of these other murders. But that guy, the Jeremy Jones guy, had definitely confessed. He gave them a big long confession, but then sort of at the last minute he recanted, which kind of annoyed me because Brendan recanted, but that was okay.
Right. How do they determine when a recantation? Anyway.
Yeah. So that kind of boiled my blood a wee bit.
Evidence in the case. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Although that didn't matter.
It was convenient. Yeah, exactly. So
maybe he didn't have an uncle like Stephen Avery that they were after. So So apparently, there was because it was in Georgia. The murder was in, Patrice. It was Georgia. She said, and they had their own version of the FBI. The GBI. GBI.
Yes.
A thoroughly ridiculous institution.
Yes.
That lost massive amounts of evidence in the Scott Davis case. But anyways, yes, go on.
Yes. So I mean, they were apparently being very diligent and looked into everything, which does make me wonder. just how diligently they were, considering the willy-nilliness of the way that they handle other cases. So, and when someone like Rob, that's so, he definitely knew what, he's like, when Patrice first went missing, he went, obviously they're going to want to speak to me, I'm the husband, he was like all, queued up, ready, and saying, they didn't put the bracelets on me, but they said you'll need to come down, and he's saying, because obviously I've got a degree in criminology, so I know how these things.
He was describing it like a game.
That's what I mean. It was like strategies. Yeah, that's what I mean. It was like strategically the way that it was.
That didn't escape me as I was listening to him talk. I was like,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, so then obviously, I should said that twice. They would have interviewed him, and he's like, "Oh, I've got this gas receipt, and oh, brilliant,
right,
you're free to go. Do not collect £200, sort of." Do not go to jail.
Is that what Monopoly boards say over there in the UK? 200 pounds.
Yeah. Whereas it should have been.
That would be considerably more than $200. So there you go, man.
Yeah, ours says £200. I don't know if it's changed now, but yeah, that's what it used to be.
That's funny.
Yeah, do not pass go.
Right, do not pass go. Right.
Yeah. So definitely, if he's thinking it's a game, it would definitely be Monopoly.
Well, it did seem like he was. Yeah, it just seemed like he was thinking about it a bit like a game, like it was. Like he was plotting out moves. Like it was. Yeah. So I was like.
But then, to be fair, because we like to be fair.
Yeah.
As true crime, enthusiasts, as I would call us, we think about things that other people don't think of. We consider things. We look at the darker side of things because we have to. Because you have to get deep into these things.
Right.
So, it could be the pathways it's created in his mind if he's had criminology training and read books on it. That he puts things in an order when he's describing them.
Right.
It doesn't make him, guilty just because it looks weird. Because I'm sure, if, God forbid, if anything happened, within the true crime community's life, we would be like, oh, well, that's a bit suspicious, or, just,
right.
Like we would say right away, we would say we want a lawyer, whereas people would say, oh, they asked for a lawyer right away, they wouldn't speak to the police, so we would, the fact that we know.
No, I'm not criticizing him for that. I mean, the fact that he wanted to go talk to, actually, if you listened to my video yesterday, folks, I would have told him he was a fool for thinking that going to talk to the police at all would have ever done him any good. But anyway, never mind. Putting that aside.
There are people there that would say if you don't talk to the police, it's because you're guilty,
And there are those people, and you're absolutely right. And so, but here's my point.
Yeah.
But you want to ask me what I would have told him on that case? I was like, dude, you're a freaking nutcase. You don't want to talk to the police because anything you say to them cannot help you possibly in any way. No. It can only hurt you. So there's no upside. So you just don't want to do it. Anyway, so that's what I was saying. But
Alice mentioned something that just came into my head.
It's very interesting. Sorry, but what Alice is saying is very interesting. Is that, and I missed this. I don't know, or maybe I caught it and forgot, but she's talking about the fact that he said
because I got her there in a wheelbarrow.
Getting her to the spot in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah,
it's like I am vaguely remember him saying something like that now, but
because he also said because I had her kept her for a toy. I think he said no, it wasn't toy, but he basically was making out they could have kept her somewhere, and But I mean that again, it's like all these scenarios would go through my mind if someone went missing in my life.
Well, what about that building they were working on right there, that church or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, this spot wasn't like secluded out in the middle of the swamps or something. I mean, if there's a building right there, clearly you could have drive up to that building. Yeah. And then, so, I mean, if he knew this area, if they could tie him to that area in any way, I think that would be highly incriminating.
But then remember, it was Toy that he said. Yeah, Alice. Thanks, Alice. But that's what I thought it was. It was something like that he said, you know. So I mean, you could understand why someone that's missing for 2 years, because she was missing for 2 years, if he was innocent and he's got this background where he looks into things and he's a bit darker, you know, looking into things, that you would maybe think, you know, maybe they did this to her, maybe they did that to her, maybe they, you know, your mind would just be going crazy thinking of all the scenarios.
Possibly.
Whereas someone that maybe doesn't have, you know, an interest in that sort of criminal side of things, maybe would just be like, where are they? You know, they wouldn't maybe venture into the, you know, somebody toying with her, somebody torturing her, all the horrible things that, you know, he was maybe, you know, if he was innocent, I mean, you know.
Well, if he was, I mean, and that's certainly possible, and you know, he hasn't been found guilty in a court of law by a jury of his peers, so you know, he gets the benefit of the doubt. But that doesn't stop me from being suspicious.
Did they not say that in the Did they not say that in the program that, you know, just because they've not found any evidence that there was a murder for hire doesn't mean that it didn't, you know, happen?
Right. Absence of evidence doesn't mean evidence of absence.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the thing is as well, I mean, it's not to be too, obviously, we don't know whether she was out there for that 2 years. We know that her bones were found, and they would have assumed that it's scavengers and, you know, bones would have been all over the place. But we don't know whether, you know, she was kept alive for a year,
right?
You know, somewhere. Sure, we don't know, you know, we just don't know. And that's the sad, that's the sad thing. You just don't know.
And maybe somebody, whoever did this, dumped her body there nearby the church because it was a church.
Yes.
Whereas maybe their property 2 miles away is a rundown, ramshackle little place that was used to torture. I mean, that's a possibility. It's a gruesome possibility, but it's a possibility, and that the church could have just been the dumping ground because people wouldn't think too much about the church. No, you know, they aren't going to get their pitchforks and torches out for the church. Now, had it been found next to the ramshackle place that looks like it's about to fall down 2 miles down the road, then people would have been like, oh, looking sideways at it, right? But anyway, no. And I'm theorizing about the place 2 miles down the road. I'm just saying that as a possibility. That's not actual evidence. I want to make sure I make that disclaimer.
So then her remains are found and they're taken to the funeral home.
Right.
And he asks for her to be laid out, you know, in the anatomical way. And some people would think that was weird. Some people would think that was fine. Everybody's got different beliefs. Having her laid out doesn't bother me too much. I'm quite open-minded about things like that. There's different death cultures all over the world. People do a lot of different things. I've read a lot of books about different death cultures, and some things would, you know, make people's, you know, go crazy at the thought of what some people do.
Right.
So having her laid out, that doesn't really, you know, bother me too much. He wanted to say goodbye to her, but he lifts her skull up and walks around the room and cradles it and kisses it, and, you know, for a good period of time. That seems a bit, you know, funny, really.
Right, I know.
That seems a bit, I don't know, there's a line in that kind of, you know,
Ted Bundy-esque.
Yeah, that line, as I mean, you know, you could, I looked at the scenario and I thought, okay, say it was one of my loved ones, God forbid that happened, and, you know, you would, at best, you would maybe like kiss your hand and, you know, just say love you, whatever. Even just touching the table or whatever. But to, you know, lift her up and
walk around the room, and
Patrice had such a beautiful smile that you would have known it was, he would have been able to see it was her, you know, without being, you know, too graphic, but you would have known right away just by seeing her beautiful smile, you know. So you would, it just gave me the heebie-jeebies a wee bit of him having, you know, her, you know,
right,
like that, you know.
And the way that he locks Pistol out and doesn't, I mean, gives Pistol nothing of the memories of him and his mom. I mean, that's just, dude, what is wrong with you, dude? There's something wrong with Rob. There's absolutely 100% something wrong with Rob.
Yeah.
Now,
now,
does that make him a murderer? I don't know, but there's something wrong with him.
So think about it as well. 2 years later, they find the remains, and then he gets her cremated. Son doesn't get her remains,
right?
Or cremains. He keeps the ashes, and for another 2 years, he sleeps with her in his bed.
Yeah. That's just,
So that again, that's a wee bit far, you know, from I could have allowed an urn at the side of the bed. That would be fine. That would be like, okay, she was my wife. I want to put her urn at that side of the bed, and you know, I love her. And, you know, we were meant to be sleeping together to our old age. But to have her, and we know he kept the ashes in the container they came in, and we know because that was the first time he'd opened it on camera, I remember. So he was sleeping with it in a box in his bed. So that just is a wee bit, right? The other thing that upset me when I saw it was I thought, how tragic is that's Pistol seeing his mother's ashes for the first time on a bloody Netflix documentary.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that made me mad. I thought, how's he going to feel, you know?
Rob's a dick. Like I said, dude, something's wrong with that guy. Whether that makes him a murderer or not, I'm not sure, but there's definitely something wrong with him.
Yeah. And I mean, Rob's remarried, so he's keeping his first wife's ashes in the cupboard.
I hope she doesn't end up dead.
I mean, I wouldn't be happy marrying someone.
She doesn't have any kids that she brought into the marriage.
Well, if I was married to someone who had, you know, lost their wife, I think I would feel a wee bit funny, like sharing the house with her ashes. You know, I think I would feel like, you know, it's maybe not moved on. You know, it's like it's almost like having our pictures all over the house. You know, and it's like, you know, it's like, you know, photoshopping her picture into their wedding pictures. You know, it's like
Then again, maybe he went for a woman his own age this time, who understands the same old world concepts he does, and she just knows her place and doesn't, and just, you know, lets the man run the show or whatever.
Maybe she has her husband's ashes in the cupboard too. Maybe
that's it. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. You know? You got the two sets of ashes kicking it on the shelf together, so they're happy as a clam. I don't know.
Yeah. Patrice is like hanging out with somebody, you know, in the cupboard. She's not lonely, you know, her ashes are not lonely.
Yeah, I still don't think Rob has any business. I mean, hopefully their kids are all grown, and Rob can't like traumatize any more kids. So,
see, the thing that I wrote it down, that he's saying he's protective of Patrice, and that I have her now. This is what he was saying when he had the ashes.
Right.
He said, and that's a good thing. So keeping her away from her son is a good thing. So even the way that he phrased that he's protective of her, he has her now, and that's a good thing. How is that a good thing when you're married and you're supposed to love someone else? You know, it just seemed the language.
Typical description most people would use at that point.
No. You would think you'd be, you know, obviously you can understand there's like I suppose it'd be a dispensation in a way. You're going on this programme, you're going to be talking about your wife, you know. I understand things are going to be said, you're going to be talking about how much you love her. You know, I'm just, you know, having a scenario of his wife now and him having this conversation. Things are going to be brought up, you know, she's maybe, you know. Be interesting to know how old his new wife is, actually. You know, whether he's went for somebody, a young person again. You know, and I don't know whether he was married before, you know, many times or whatever, but you're wondering whether it's a pattern of.
He reminds me of Mike West, the bite mark guy. I swear, I'm like wondering if they're like if there's a familial relation or something. Because I don't know, quite a bit about his mannerisms reminded me of Mike West.
Yeah. See, there's something about him that reminded me of someone, and I can't. It's a way I can't think who the person is, but the way that he's. It's not so much his mannerisms, but it's the structure of his language, the way that he's talking. It does remind me of someone confessing to something, and it's not. It's not like Dennis Rader, but I don't know if you ever saw his trial, where he was talking about the BTK killer. He was just talking about if you ever see that, not the full trial, but just when he was talking about. He was so matter of fact. Yes, I just went and did this, and I just went and did that, and matter of fact. I think there's a bit of maybe that sort of matter of factness when you're talking about things that are supposed to be, deeply upsetting,
right,
or deeply.
He's supposed to be devastated. This is the woman he claims that he was in love with, that he couldn't live without.
Yeah,
but that's not really evident. We're seeing that he's very, very particular about wanting to be in possession of all of her remains. I mean,
and their possessions.
And possession of her while she was alive. I mean, we're seeing lots of evidence of that.
Yeah.
But not, So, anyway.
So I mean, we would never want to, convict someone without a trial.
Yeah, we're just here.
We give people the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. But I mean, we know that he's definitely guilty of being,
a douche.
Absolute stepfather 100%. Of the year. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Guilty of that. Guilty.
Or should we say ball bag? Either way. Yeah. Either or. Either one applies.
Definitely. They do. But I mean, so unfortunately, people do confess to crimes all the time that they haven't committed. So these two guys that came forward, they could have been a red herring type thing, or there is somebody out there that, but definitely I think she was definitely feeling, shaky ground under her feet.
Yeah, she certainly was, yeah. She was showing indicators of being shaken and being a little worried. So there's certainly... Yeah.
And that's a shame for our last days to be in that situation.
It wasn't the little smash and grab or whatever that it was somebody shooting, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's tragic for our son. I just hope he's able to, I mean, it might make him a better person in his life, maybe tragedy often does build character in people, It could have been a wee git that was away, taking drugs and wasting his life away, spoiled by his mum, and not that makes the fact he's lost his mum, a payoff, but tragedy can make people grow up and make them become better people.
Right, he had to grow up quick, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I say, it's clear Mom gave him, Mom created the emotional and, some stability in that kid.
Yeah.
Because he gets it. He was able to move on, and I'm sure he has some bitterness in him, but he was able to move on from it. And like I said, for me, the fact that he was able to acknowledge that Rob was actually trying in the first year tells me how well adjusted he is, that his mom did a good job. Even though he doesn't like Rob, he acknowledges that he was trying in the first year. I think Pistol's, fortunate. He's going to be okay. And my heart goes out to him because he lost his mom. And if it turns out Rob had anything to do with it, I think Pistol should get a free nut shot and a free facial shot on Rob before he goes in.
Did you see his tattoo? Did you see his tattoo in his arm of the hairdressing scissors? Did you notice that?
I didn't know what was in there.
Yeah, he's got the son. He's got a pair of scissors, hairdressing scissors, tattooed on his arm.
Oh,
So I thought that was nice. You know,
with
obviously
Rob's
for his
head
mum.
in between the blades? No?
Well, I couldn't see the blade, so maybe as a wee man. Yep, maybe. But yeah, definitely. People don't know who they're marrying, you know, especially when she was so much younger.
Right.
You know, she was 30, she had a young son, you know, she was obviously thinking, this man's going to give me stability. And, you
Right.
know, so I mean, even if he didn't kill her, he wasn't a great choice for a husband. For a young, you know, sunshiny person, let's say.
Yeah. Right.
You know, if he
A
was going
bubbly
to.
person. Right.
Yeah, so
You
too
get
often.
the feeling he's more of a, stay at home, microwave dinners and whatever, where she's more
Yeah.
of a, I want to go out and dinner and dancing. Right.
Yeah, he's like, come on, get our slippers on.
Right. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's maybe why she spent a lot of time with her friends. But, you know, I mean, the fact that he was able to help her get the salon, I mean, she must have liked him at the beginning. You know, he maybe
I
seemed
agree.
like a,
I
a
believe for
decent
the
guy.
first year they were probably pretty good. Yeah,
But then how many
I think,
relationships go like that
yeah.
with
But for
narcissistic
that
type
flip
people?
that happened after year one that
Mm,
Pistol describes, I believe that is where it started to sour. I
yeah,
believe he thought it wasn't going to, for some reason. He thought he could
yeah.
treat Pistol like shit, and that
Hmm.
she would be fine with it. But I don't think she was going to be fine with it. I don't
No,
think she was fine with it, and I think the evidence is showing she was getting ready to boot his ass to the curb.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and so,
Pistol said she never, Ron had said, Rob had said, she never disciplined him. That was what he didn't like. There was no discipline.
right,
Um,
and that may be
so
true.
and I mean, well, that's what I was going to say. It could have been true because maybe the kid was, spoiled in a way because she was having to work a lot, and when she was with him, she, didn't want to, you know, be the bad mum when she wasn't there. You know, maybe a lot of the time. So, but then you could understand where the dynamics in that house, you could just see it. You know, if she's not disciplining him, he's coming down heavy, thinking he's being the, good cop, bad cop, as they
Disciplinarian,
say.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And then, I mean, what kind of 15-year-old accepts that? You know, what kind of 13-year-old, 12-year-old even, accepts someone being so authoritarian like that when they've been used to being mummy's boy,
Might have
you
worked in
know?
the first year, but once he started not giving a crap, if he
Yeah,
started to be all authoritarian like that, the kid's just gonna be like, dude,
with the,
you can't even be bothered to take me to football practice, you fucking asshole. Who the fuck are you?
yeah,
You know, like, I mean, that's the
yeah,
attitude that's gonna happen. I'm sorry, Rob, if you didn't realize that, if you're so stupid that you didn't realize that was gonna happen, but that was
yeah,
what was gonna happen when you stopped taking an interest. He was gonna think you were a joke. That's exactly what happened.
yeah. But then just hope he's not at the last laugh, But I mean, a lot of people have said, why would Rob go on a program like that? Why would he go on when he's
Narcissist.
maybe? Well, that's what I was going to say. He thinks he's too smart. He thinks he can go on and
Well,
say
that's
that, and no one's going to
see, that's
notice.
why the whole thing smacks of a game to me
Mm.
for him. It's like
Yep,
his whole speech was all about like how he was trying to be a step ahead of
yep,
everybody. Like,
yep.
fool, this is not what this is about. This is about
Mm-mm.
your missing ex-wife, not about you being a step ahead of everybody.
Yep.
Like, yeah. Anyways,
Because I mean, like last week when we said, about Porter not coming on last week's show, the one of Ray Rivera's one. And we'd said, like, why would he not come on? And, all that sort of thing. And we were thinking, well, maybe because people would pick, see fault in him, whereas Rob's came on and that's exactly what's happened, And but I think he thinks he's smarter than everyone.
look,
I think he thinks he's smarter than everyone.
it's what Rob says, though. I mean, it's not just that Rob came on and say his piece. I listen to a lot of people in Rob's position, and if they sound reasonable, I'm like, well, that sounds pretty reasonable. But with Rob, it's like what I'm talking about. It's like he's describing a game where he's a step ahead of everybody. That's what makes it weird.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, anyways, all right. Well, I
So
guess
it'd be interesting to see, it'd be interesting to see in the groups and stuff like that what people are going to say. Because definitely it's always on my mind that, if you do want, justice for Patrice, because obviously she's not had, any kind of justice, no one's been held accountable for putting her light out, so, and obviously, if it was Rob, Pistol would get the ashes then, wouldn't he?
You would think you would if Rob didn't do something incredibly petty, which I don't believe is beyond him.
Yes, like decide after 15 years to
I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
If he thought the boom was coming down on him, he might do something incredibly petty. I don't think he's. I don't think it's.
No, I don't think it's beyond him.
I don't think it's beneath him. I think he's perfectly capable.
Or give him something that looks like cremains and tell him that that's what he's giving him, and then have a laugh about it to himself. Because he thinks he's so smart that he's given Pistol fake ashes.
Right. Oh,
so that he can keep Patrice to himself.
Right.
Where she belongs.
Who knows?
So he can protect her like no one else.
I'll put it this way: the way he's 2 steps ahead of everybody in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, he's probably already planning out on the eventual day if he does have to give up the ashes. So I'm sure he's already.
Here, people would give when there's loads of families, and some of them are maybe like in Canada, some of them are in Scotland. Over here, we've had family members that have taken some of the ashes away home with them, to Canada. And the other half of the ashes have been scattered in Scotland, people have maybe had half their life and
Yeah.
So why could he not have said, look, she's my wife, she's your mother, we'll go, you can have half and I'll have half, and then we're both,
Or why couldn't he have let Pistol have some pictures of his mom?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least until he died, and then the ashes could pass. It's the conduct of Rob, the absolute shutdown. Boom! Stay the fuck away from me. I don't want you anywhere near me because, potentially my theory, because I don't want you to find out what the hell I did, and I don't need anybody close enough to me to be able to do that. That's what it looks like because it's so completely 100% shut down, shut out. Bam.
Finito.
Right. Like it's because it was like that, because it was so, I don't know, nuclear option, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it looks like. So because it's so that way and it looks that way, it's troubling.
Definitely. So I'm glad everyone's popped in the chat, and William's been saying lots.
Yeah.
He's been adding his wee bit.
Yeah, William doesn't like Rob either. So.
No, he's not. Hello, Alice Rope.
Because he's a ball bag. See, there you go.
Absolutely. So next week's one.
You guys not name your next Hurricane Rob. Anyways.
Yeah. Oh well, we've had we had Hurricane Bob. Did we not have Hurricane Ball Bag? We called that here. I mean, I don't think that was.
You had Ball Bag, but now your next one you got to call it Rob. It's like having Hurricane Ball Bag again.
No, Boris.
Or Boris. That'll work. I'm laughing at what's going on over in Westminster right now. Do you mean the devolved parliaments can't be involved? And it's so funny watching it happen. It's just like, but you're gonna complain later when COVID's over and these places are going, okay, we think we're done with the union. We think we're done with the UK, and you're gonna be crying foul. Yeah, I love it. I can't wait till the day that we see Westminster crying foul after denying everybody, representation. This is gonna get fun.
Yeah. And you're going to be waiting, and you're going to be watching.
It's gonna
or should I say we are going to be watching.
Ridiculously funny. I can already see it.
Yeah.
So.
But I was just going to say before we go, but next week's one, that's the one with the mother that was, can't remember what it was called, but the mother with all the kids, and she was like really a bit crazy and controlling, and
they killed one of the stepfathers.
Don't tell anybody. So get watching episode 3 so you're all caught up. Have you got what it's called?
Sort of. Hold on.
Don't worry if you're not. It's episode 3.
No, it was, but it wouldn't let me bring up the episode list.
Right.
Pause. Thank you. Okay. House of Terror. House of Terror.
Oh, is that the second one? The third one, rather. Oh no, forget what I said then. This is the one that's set in France. This is a good one.
Right.
Yeah. Watch episode 3. It's House of Terror. But what I will say is, don't watch it when you're tired because it's subtitles. Because a lot of it's in French. But don't let that put you off because it's very interesting, that one.
The Frenchies do pretty well on Beastmaster.
You're obsessed with your Beastmaster. We're going to have to do programs about that.
Is Jerome going to be on Beastmaster? Where's he at? Anyway.
I think he's probably went away. He's away chopping onions.
There you go. Onion Gate. #.
Oh dear. But I do hope everybody's enjoyed it. Because it's good to thrash these things out, and it gives people ideas, and certain wee things maybe other people maybe wouldn't have thought of, and or even other people have thought of, and they go, oh, I was thinking that as well, so. And they always say it in Scottish though when they say it, never say it in other You should read me a joke. Oh dear. So I'm not kidding you then. You made me So we'll end this one for this week. Well, it sounds like we're on the telly. And we'll catch you all next Sunday. And mind do your homework and go on and look at the Facebook groups as well, because you'll get a lot of good things, and then you can come on and remind us of the things we forget about when we're supposed to be the professionals.
On with us to help us translate episodes.
Oh, that would be actually quite good. Do you think that's will we ask him?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should ask him. We'll be like, right, Jerome, hit it.
And then when we get to an episode that has something in the UK, then we'll bring in the Havering Scotsman to haver about it.
Yeah. It's a good idea. But but he's Scottish now. You guys
should have seen my name in StreamYard yesterday. Yeah.
Yes, Bane of the Mad Scotsman, or just Bane of the Scotsman?
Bane of the Scotsman.
Bane of the Scotsman. I love that. That made me laugh. Actually, when I seen it, I just went, "Oh my god, oh my god." But anyway, I'll end this now. I'll get my hand on the button.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
And we'll see you all next week, guys. Bye.
We'll see you next week.